Hello guys! Tea with me today is finishing the reading session of your IELTS exam. Are you ready to grab the final notes and understand what you have to do to get the high band score that you need? So let's do this. And here we are. It's time to finish the reading session for the IELTS exam. We are going to check it out, what you have missed, we are going to review the content, and we are going to finish with some extra tips on how to study what's important to improve your vocabulary. But before we get to the juicy part, don't forget to like this video, share with your friends that are preparing for IELTS, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos that weekly are going to help you pass TOEFL and IELTS. So let's remember our journey so far. The reading session for your IELTS exam has 3 passages, totally approximately 2,500 words. Long passages if you ask me, so practice makes perfect. The passages are similar to reading content from magazines like Nature, The Economist, or National Geographic. So reading these magazines may help you a lot. You have 60 minutes, so let's do the math. 60 minutes, 3 texts, you have 20 minutes per text, so you don't have time to waste. You need to work on skills. You need to work on things that are going to help you improve the way you read in English. So it's important to get to know the questions, the kinds of questions you are going to see on the day of your exam. If you have missed any of the videos, you can check it out on the channel, IELTS reading session. I have covered with you guys one by one the kinds of questions you are going to see. So let's imagine that you have these 40 questions, okay, in the reading session. If your aim is a band score 7, you need to get 30 questions right. 7 is considered an average. It's a good average band score. So you need a lot of right questions. So maybe if you are not very familiarized with long texts, with a more academic language, here is the time to sit down with long IELTS material, with magazines that cover long texts with the topics that may appear on the IELTS exam. What are some of the things that I can do as a student? You can practice skimming and scanning. Skimming and scanning are strategies that are going to help you read faster and go directly to the part of the text that is going to help you answer that specific question. Remember, you don't have time to waste. Understand organization. And why is that? You may get lost during the exam. So you better prep for the exam using authentic IELTS material and understand the organization of the questions, the text, and the entire session that you are going to do. Paraphrasing. I'm going to get to it in a second. Guessing unknown words and time management. And why is that? Many students get nervous on the day of the exam and they lose track of time. And then when they get to the third text, they have 5 minutes for a text that is 2 pages long, and you have maybe 10, 12 questions to answer. So guys, make sure that you practice looking at the clock, looking at the watch. Make sure that you have a chronometer with you. Don't practice for an exam just for the sake of it, the whole day for one passage. You don't have time for that on the day of the exam. And let's break this apart. Let's get to the paraphrasing thing. I have done a video with paraphrasing techniques, and there's paraphrasing material on that video description that you guys can download and practice. But why is it important to know how to paraphrase? In the question, you may see the words civil calendar. On the text, municipal calendar. Question word, a new cabinet shape. But on the text, a new floor standing case design. So you understand, you need to practice synonyms and paraphrasing. The more you do, the best it is for you to understand the text, understand the questions, and find the synonyms in the text. But how do I work with synonyms, teachers? Well, you can work just like this. You can work with post-its, notebook. You can cut out small pieces of paper and write synonyms for words that you found on the text. And then what you can do is you summarize the idea of the text. You summarize the idea of a paragraph by paraphrasing it with the synonyms. That's important. And it's not only going to help you with your reading skills, but speaking and written are going to become way better when you practice synonyms. You are not going to be the student that is always good, 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 and good. Repetition of words shows the examiner that you don't have that much of a vocabulary. And here we are talking about the speaking session and the reading session that I have covered already. So synonyms and paraphrasing are key essentials, are things that you need to work on. Something else to think about, teacher, collocations. What are collocations after all? 2 or 3 words that are commonly placed together. So we don't say do the bed, we say make the bed. We don't do noise, we make noise. Why are collocations so important? Because if we try to translate the collocations into our mother language, we may get, how can I say, lost in translation. And why is that? Because some of the words that are combined to create collocations are not grammatically accurate when it comes to translation. So you need to be able to read a sentence in the text and identify, oh, this is a collocation. I needed to understand all of these together. And that's important. You meet the criteria for something. You meet your students' needs. You satisfy the demands of your boss. You know, it's important to practice collocations. And not only the simple kinds of collocations, but the complex ones. If your goal is a high score, this is where you have to sit for a longer period of time. Let's take an example of something that you can actually do to study collocations. I took a word out of a text, for example, interest. And then I considered all the possible combinations of words that I can do with interest. And remembering their interest when it comes to a Portuguese speaker, a Portuguese person that has Portuguese language as a mother tongue, a Brazilian or a Portuguese person that has Portuguese as mother tongue, interest may have 2, 3 different translations, okay? So I needed to understand that the context may vary the definition. What are the verbs that I can connect with interest? You can take an interest, you can maintain an interest, you can share interest. What are the prepositions? Out of interest, interest among, interest in. What are the adjectives that I can use with? You can have a considerable interest, a vested interest, and a business interest. The nouns, interest rate, interest payment, and so on. So once you analyze the more complex collocations, the better it is for you guys to identify them and to have a better level of linguistic skills. So think about the word complicated. Another example here for you guys. You can have a situation that is extremely complicated, quite complicated, needlessly complicated, really complicated, and please stop with the very, 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 your favorite word of all times. Everything is very. Can be very complicated, yes indeed, but imagine that every time you talk or write, you only use very. You have other adverbs to do the job for you. You can have a complicated procedure, complicated rules, a book or a soap opera can have a complicated plot. And something can appear complicated, can prove to be complicated, and so on. And this is how you can study more complex collocations. Grab your IELTS material. Grab 1 to 3 words from one text and work with the collocations you can create. Not that you can create, but the collocations that are designed for that words, the verbs, the adverbs, the adjectives, the nouns, the prepositions that can be combined with that word that you are using. And let's not forget the idioms. Idioms may give you extra points when it comes to your speaking assessment, and they may appear in the text depending on the kind of text, and also depending on the topic of the writing that you have, you may use them. Things like cost an arm or a leg. What does that mean? It has nothing to do with your body. When a car costs an arm or a leg, it's extremely expensive. When my students pass the IELTS exam, I'm over the moon. So idioms cannot and must not be translated as individual words, but most importantly, they need to be understood as the message that they convey. Again, study idioms may give you extra points all over your IELTS exam. So we finished the reading session for the IELTS exam. We are starting in a few weeks the listening session. We are going to understand better how the questions are divided and what to expect on your exam. But until we do so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because every Wednesday we have a new video for you guys here to improve your techniques and pass your IELTS or your TOEFL. And if you want to practice, you have the PDF of this presentation plus a complete sample of the questions with practice on the video description. I see you guys next week.